Hi everyone. It's been a little while since I've done a video again, so I thought what I might do is give you a bit of a channel update and talk about some of the projects I've had going on over the last couple of months. So I recently finished some Star Wars Legion commissions. I'll pop some pictures up on the screen so you can see them, but I did some aqua droids, which are these sort of like hammerhead shark looking Terminator style droids, and then I also did some crab droids. They're both very fun to paint. I enjoyed the crab droids. I enjoyed actually doing the highlighting and the lining on the shells as well, which was quite fun. I haven't actually seen the episodes that these are in. I think they're from the Clone Wars, which I never really got through. So it was nice to paint them, but I didn't really know. There was no reference, very little reference material out there for me to follow. So I kind of just went with what was in the box art. Another thing I did is I bought myself a branded dice tray. So I have done a couple of Baron's War battle reports, which are on my channel for anyone who's interested. I've been doing a narrative campaign where it's following basically the storyline of two rival nobles who are fighting over a estate which is nearby, which has been left basically unclaimed because the local lord died. Now, I've recently filmed the 4th episode, and that's currently being edited and hopefully will be uploaded shortly after this video. But I got this from Etsy. The shop itself was called Prince of Camelot, and I just uploaded the image that I used for my YouTube channel, which I'll admit it was created with AI, and then I overlaid the text onto it. I don't have a budget for anything like this, so anything that helps me make things slightly more professional but for free is brilliant. I know AI is quite divisive. Some people like it, some people don't. I think it's got its place. This is brilliant. I thought it was great. It's a dice tray. I can use it in my battle reports, and I'll be able to keep the dice in one place when I'm rolling them. So nice and cheap. I think it cost me £13. I ordered it, and then within a couple of days it had arrived. So brilliant. And if you're after this sort of thing, again, Prince of Camelot. So Prints of Camelot. And it was good. Yeah, can't fault it. A couple of months back in May, I went on holiday and went to Mexico for a couple of weeks. And while I was there, I read a book by Dan Jones, and it was this one. It's called Crusaders, and it's essentially like it says here, history of the wars for the Holy Lands. And it starts with the First Crusade, gives us sort of the background to how that came about, why it was such a success, and then sort of runs through each of the subsequent crusades afterwards. And it gave me a lot of inspiration, certainly for Baron's War, and also for Outremer as well. There's sort of things I could do when it comes to scenarios and games and characters to use. And so again, I recommend it. Absolutely brilliant book. I smashed through this in the 2 weeks I was on holiday. But when I got back, it got me thinking. I mean, I do a lot of terrain for Baron's War and also make it usable for Lord of the Rings as well. But one thing I don't have is any sort of castle. And of course, big pitch battles in the period were quite rare. Things were normally either small skirmishes or sieges. And it got me thinking, I reckon, with a bit of effort, I could make a castle. So when I got back from holiday, I ordered myself some XPS foam. I ordered some other bits and pieces. I got my 3D printer out, and I started printing some things from the slice and slot range. Now I've just got a couple of examples out here for you to show how cool they are, but I printed these with my resin printer. I was using a Elegoo Mars Pro, but actually during the project I decided to upgrade and I got myself the new Saturn 4 Ultra. So you'll see in a minute I've been printing a lot more. But these are designed perfectly to fit with XPS foam. So if I've got a piece of foam, and this is actually from the booster pack, it's not from the original core pack, and it's a right angle for putting together walls. And it's brilliant. You essentially just slot it in, imagining you're using a much larger piece of foam, and you can start putting buildings together. And it looks incredible as well. You get these, you get doorways, you get arches like this, you get windows you can print out. You can even buy MDF jigs so that they essentially slide over the XPS foam, and they're like a bit like this. You slide the XPS foam down in the middle, and then you cut around the outside, and then the slice and slot piece that you've printed slots directly into the gap. I actually bought these off eBay, off the guy Microforge Minis is the designer, I bought these off his shop on eBay because I was trying to cut them out manually and it was a bit of a nightmare. But with this, and also with his, I think he calls it Score-O-Matic, which is essentially a jig for scoring lines for brickwork, I was able to smash through. And I have now almost finished, and I say almost because there will be a separate video showing all this off, a load of towers, a load of walls, a gate, stairs, ruined towers. I've even built a couple of extra buildings, like I've got a storehouse unit that I've built. I've got a sort of like palace, kind of like, not really so much a palace, more about like living quarters that I've built. And a bit of a sneak peek, because I will do a separate video. This is how the castle's looking so far. And this is one of the small towers I've done. You can kind of see over in the background here, just the outline of one of the large hexagonal towers that I've done. See it over there in the back. But that at the minute is still a work in progress for some of these. I have painted up a lot. There'll be a separate video, you'll get to see it, but I'm really, really excited about this. Again, it was inspired by the book, reading about the Crusades, but I've gone for more of a neutral colour tone because I don't want to just make a castle which is only suitable for the Crusades. I wanted to make something that could be used for Lord of the Rings. It could be used for a European theatre of war as well. So it is quite a generic, greyish, brownish, different colour scheme. And I've put sort of like, you know, use coffee stirrers to make floors and things. But it's been a really fun project. Still a bit to go, but once it's done, I'll do a video and show off how the castle works. Fully modular as well. So I can use it as a castle, I can use it as city walls, I can use it as sort of like, you know, anything in that sort of vein that I want. So really excited about that. So please keep an eye out for the video when that comes. Now, one of the problems with the way my mind works is when I build a castle or something like that, I've built the walls and then I start thinking, well, I need to make sure that I've got stuff to go inside it. Castles they did have large open spaces, sort of like outer baileys and things like that, but they're normally filled with storehouses, workshops, blacksmiths, all that sort of thing. And so I thought, you know what, I need to start building some other buildings. And I bought myself a new 3D printer, as I said, and I went on the hunt for some files, and I found some incredible files to use. So first up, I want to show you some stables that I've printed. So this is the same file, printed 3 different times, at different scales as well. So the original scale is like this. It's quite a small stable. You've got the roof section here that prints in one piece. These bits on the bits of thatch are quite delicate and do snap off. So I did have some issues, as you can kind of see if you look closely. Some of the strands are not complete on one side, but they are on the other. But it's a nice little kit. So it is just the frame and the roof. I added the wattle fences, I added the bush. This is just rubberized horsehair with some flock stuck on it. I've then put it on a base and flocked it, put some tufts on, and I think it looks incredible. I'm really happy with it, and this is the sort of thing which can just sit inside the castle. You'll see these appear in the 4th episode of my Baron's Feud campaign, because I used these as a stable, which is one of the objectives to be burnt down. Next up, I printed this larger set, and again, this should be much taller, but I cut it off about sort of like 2/3 of the height, because I thought to myself, if it was any higher, it would start to look quite silly. So it's almost equal height with this second one at the back here, the middle sized. But again, printed this. This one I had some real issues sticking it together because it is just a flat section and the joints just essentially glue directly onto each other, and it wouldn't stay still. So I had to drill this, I had to pin it, and it was an absolute nightmare. But I eventually got it put together and it looks all right. Now, after the issues I had with this, I went on the way and I thought, you know, there's got to be ways I can improve this to make it the prints easier to assemble. So what I did is I went off and using Tinkercad, I added some log holes here and I added pins on the end of these beams. So they do just click together now. And this file, it was from a designer called Gothic Things. Of course, obviously it's a file that I bought. So I've made these adjustments, so the adjustments won't be out there available online. But it's a nice little kit, and also they all go together quite nicely to make. You could make a little bit of a scene here, as if you've got stables. I have got a blacksmith as well, which would fit in nicely with this. And yeah, a bit of flock, put it on a base, a bit of, like I said, the rubberized horsehair and flock, although I do need to seal it because you can see the amount of it which is just falling off these. I need to seal it so that this doesn't happen anymore. But yeah, so those are the first things I worked on. I thought I need some stables. I need to make something which I can use. And there's a lot of files out there, but a lot of the stable files from places like Printable Scenery, they're full buildings, whereas I didn't really want a full building as such. And the Gothic Things page as well, they sold like a set of farm pieces. So I got this little hut as well, which is like a little stable kind of thing, which is quite nice. And painted this up, put some polyfiller into the gaps, rubbed it down, and then added a wash over the top to kind of just take away some of the whiteness of the polyfiller. So it does look like it's mortar between the bricks, which is quite a nice look. Now, as well as that, I've printed some other little bits and pieces. You get hay bales, you get ladders with that set. But I also thought to myself, I need to do some sort of granary or something. And I think it was Dark Realms who make this files for this one. I had to shrink this down considerably. I think I had to shrink it down by about 60%. So the original model, which had been much, much larger, but this is a great little kit. You've got the removable roof, you've got a detailed interior inside, and again, this was all printed on the Saturn IV Ultra. Something like this on my original Elegoo Mars would have taken ages to print, but this was done in a couple of hours on the 4 Ultra. It's so quick, I can't believe it. You've got the little mushroom legs that it stands on. One criticism I would have is that these don't clip in very well. They're not very strong, which is why I had to put it on a base, because I lost about 3 or 4 of them with them just snapping off. Again, painted in a very similar way as I did that little animal shelter. Painted a couple of the individual bricks, gave it a bit of a dry brush, rubbed in some filler into the gaps, wiped the filler away, and then gave it a wash over. And again, you've got the rubberized horsehair and the flock on the side to look like a sort of like a gorse or thorn bush. And I'm really happy with this. It does make an appearance in the next battle report, although it's only partly finished at that point. But again, nice little add a bit of scenery, add an objective if you want to try, for example, burn something down. So, as well as that, I printed off a few other buildings. Now, these are all from Printable Scenery as well. This is from their King and Country range. And it's a range which is split into between sort of like the king part of it is like the castle grounds, everything you would expect to find in there. The country bit is the kind of like the bits like marketplace stuff, countryside, village, houses and stuff. Really good set, amazing. I printed off, the first one was this house. So forgot to actually print the door, so I'm either going to have to print the door or leave it. Again, painted in exactly the same way. Paint, dry brush, filler, wash, just done in that order. Gorse bush stuck on the edge. I printed this part in 2 though. So the bottom is printed in 2 and you can see a divide line if you look at the floor here. You'll see it better on the base, the back. I wanted to reduce the pressure on the FEP sheet just so that I wasn't printing one big chunk. Printed this separately, but had quite a considerable amount of warping. As you can see there, it's bent. So when you put it on, you have to, from the front, you can't see the gap. From the back, you can. But no one's going to be getting that close to the table. And I think it looks good. I think this is just the Norman storehouse or something. I printed it twice. Again, same thing here. Printed the wood store as well, which comes with it, and I stuck that on the side. I haven't put these on a base because I think they look fine how they are, and sometimes I do like to have the terrain without a base so that you just get up close to it. But again, lovely kit, really good, printed without a fuss, and they look incredible, and they'll look brilliant on the battlefield. This last one, and I say last one, it's not actually the last one, there is more to come, is a cottage that I printed, again from Printable Scenery, and I think this looks incredible. It is huge, and this printed on my Saturn 4 Ultra with no issues at all. Well, I say no issues, there's a little bit of warping on the top here, but I think that's mainly down to the way I supported it. And you can lift the lid off, fully decorated interior. I can't open the door. For some reason, when I tried to pin the door in place, it just wouldn't stay, so I glued it in. I added the base to this because you have this sort of like front porch kind of thing, and I wanted to add some sticks in, some balsa sticks, to sort of like look like it's been supported somehow. But again, this is an incredible kit, painted in exactly the same way. Painted, I used Colourforge spray paints to prime it, and it looks great. And I really love how this looks. I want to print some more bits and pieces because, again, it's an incredible looking house. So, additionally, a few other bits and pieces to show off. These I printed on my FDM printer actually a long while ago now. They're just little stables. I believe these are from Printable Scenery as well. They go with the, I think it's a Norman granary or Norman storehouse that they do. Printed off a couple of these, put some bit of flock in, added some in the middle here to make it look like there's some sort of animal feed. And yeah, they're great. They can just sort of like sit, they can sit by buildings, they can sit in the castle, and just add a little bit of extra detail to everything. I've also printed, and this was a bit of a random one, I think this is Printable Scenery as well, a little fountain that can sit in the castle. I've used the Vallejo texture paste, the water, still water, which is brilliant actually. It's a bit like just very thick PVA glue, but it does actually dry clear. There's a bit of water in there just to give it a little bit of extra detail. And that's mainly, I thought that can go in the castle and kind of sit in the forecourt. And, if you're playing a castle scenario, you can perhaps try and poison the well. This is something a little bit different. This was printed on my Neptune 2 on an FDM printer, and the quality is obviously not as good as resin, but printed off very nicely. It's okay. I've based it. Door opens and closes quite nicely. I had a print fail on this actually. These steps are meant to extend right the way down to the bottom, but the print failed for some reason. The bottom half of the steps just fell off, so I replaced it with a bit of XPF foam in there. So yeah, I'm getting quite a village going, which with a lot of my battles, I find that I've got roads, I've got rivers, I've got forest, I've got fields, but I've only ever had a couple of buildings, and now this adds just a little bit of extra, a little bit of different dynamic to my games. So hopefully there's going to be a bit more sort of like burn this house down, burn that house down, that sort of kind of approach to it. I've also printed, and again this is slightly different. I have been watching a lot of people's videos on the game Pillage by Victrix, or that has been published by Victrix and has been produced by a guy from France. And I thought I need perhaps some sort of like loot tokens or something like that, or at least something to use as objectives. So I've got some pigs, I've got some sheep and goats that I've printed that are just going to sit on the, they can sit on the board, and you can pretend if you're raiding a village, you're stealing these things. The pigs are quite cool. I do like how the pigs look. Trying to give them a bit of a kind of like more natural paint job than just pink, because of course I'm pretty confident that pigs in the medieval times were more like wild boar than they are like modern pigs. So I'm trying to go for that kind of darker, more savage look to them. Another thing that I did really like that I printed, and you can see I got the 3D printer and I've kind of just gone crazy. I printed Trebuchet. This is from a Lord of the Rings range. I think it is the Vale. And I printed loads of these sort of shields. I can't remember exactly what they're called. They have got a technical name. These are from Reconquer Designs, who again are incredible. Like the amount of stuff they produce and the quality of it is just insane. But I printed about maybe like half a dozen of these. Every time I've got space on the build plate, I just add one in, because they'll add a little bit of extra detail. And now I'll have a castle, I'll have a trebuchet, I'll have these sort of, I'm going to kill myself for not being able to remember the name of it. I'll be able to set up a siege scene, and you'll be able to have sort of like the defenders sallying out, trying to destroy the trebuchet, trying to break out of the town or this castle which is besieged, and trying to get at the attackers. But I really like this kit. I need to find some crew for it, because unfortunately the only STL files I can find are the ones that go with this, the sort of like the Gondor style troops, which isn't what I want. I want sort of like normal, sort of like medieval civilians. It was great. It printed so nicely, it went together so easy. I was just in awe, especially at how print the Saturn IV Ultra, how fast, that printer can churn out miniatures with such a huge amount of quality. So that's it, really. At the end of September, on the 27th, my 27th or 28th, they're doing it the Saturday and Sunday, but my local gaming club, the Bastion, based in Basingstoke, are holding an open day, or an open weekend actually. They've got Saturday and Sunday, like I said. And on the Sunday, we're going to try and get some games in. Hopefully a little bit of Lord of the Rings, hopefully a little bit of Baron's War. I'm going to take my terrain over, set up a table, and we'll just see how we get on with things, and get a few games done and played. Because I make all this stuff, I want to get out there and use it. But anyway, thanks for watching. I'm sure I will eventually remember the name of this thing. God, it annoys me. But what I will say is these supports fit perfectly within the battlements that I've created for my castle. So these actually work either as freestanding defences or as kind of like a hoarding that can sit over the top of the castle wall to protect the defenders from incoming arrows and things like that. So happy accident, really. They're brilliant. Anyway, rambling on a little bit, but thanks for watching. Hope it's been of interest, and I will catch you all in the next video. Cheers.